Today, most American children go to school, play with their friends, and have a proper childhood. They do not worry about work, paychecks, and bills until later in life, but it wasn't always like that. Children have worked all throughout American history, but during the Industrial Revolution in 1750, child labor became a big problem. Factories used machines, and in order for them to keep on working properly, they needed people running them. Specifically, children. In 1900, children under the age of 16 made up 18% of America's workforce. Children would usually start working in factories and mines as young as 3 years old. They were young, so they could reach into places adults could not. They could also be paid less than an adult and were not as much of a danger to go on strike. These children came from poor families who either had to sell their kids to employers or put them to work in order to support the family. This work was dangerous. Many of them would break bones, lose limbs, and even die. The places they worked were dirty, and they became ill very easily. Even through sickness they would work, in fear of losing their jobs. Breaker boys would work in the mines and separate impurities of the coal by hand in a coal breaker. This is where the name Breaker boys originated from. A factory child might earn $1 for working 12 to 18 hours for 6 days. Charles Dickens even wrote his book Oliver Twist in 1838 to help publicize the evils of child labor, but it did not have the major impact he was looking for. However, Mary Harris Jones, better known as Mother Jones, was a very influential figure in the fight for children's rights. She had protested for unfair treatment of workers for years, and eventually she started to help out the children. Pennsylvania had the highest child labor employment in the country, so of course Mother Jones went there. Here is an excerpt from her autobiography, March of the Mill Children. In the spring of 1903, I went to Kensington, Pennsylvania, where 75,000 textile workers were on strike. Of this number, at least 10,000 were little children. The workers were striking for more pay and shorter hours. Every day, little children came into Union headquarters, some with their hands off, some with a thumb missing, some with their fingers off at the knuckle. The state law prohibited their working before they were 12 years of age. The law was poorly enforced, and the mothers of these children often swore falsely as to their children's age. I asked the newspapermen why they didn't publish the facts about child labor in Pennsylvania. They said they couldn't because the mill owners had stock in the papers. Well, I've got stock in these little children, said I, and I'll arrange a little publicity. March of the Mill Children by Mary Harris Jones. Mother Jones did not just arrange a little publicity, but a march all the way from Pennsylvania to New York. Their goals were 1. Draw national attention towards the problem of child labor. 2. Meet with the President Theodore Roosevelt to discuss child labor. 3. Raise money to support the strike of textile workers. And 4. Pass national legislation which made it illegal to employ children under the age of 15 or to require more than 55 hours a week from any textile worker. Unfortunately, President Theodore Roosevelt was not there, but they did raise awareness, and in 1904 the National Child Labor Committee, or abbreviated to NCLC, was formed. They tried to put a stop to child labor, but statistics weren't showing the results that they hoped, so they sought out the help of a famous photographer, Lewis Hine. Over the next 15 years, he would travel around America and take photos of the horrors and evils that were child labor, more like child slavery. These children had lost their childhood to these greedy factory owners and mine employers, and Lewis Hine was able to capture that in his photographs. From photographs like those, public opinions started to sway. Congress passed 2 laws in 1918 and 1922, but the Supreme Court ruled them unconstitutional. Then, in 1924, Congress proposed a constitutional amendment prohibiting child labor, but the states did not ratify it. Shortly after that, the Great Depression hit, and that is the turning point in history where child labor became wildly unpopular. Even other factories started to use machines that made the jobs done by children mechanized instead. Finally, in 1938, Congress passed the Fair Labor Standards Act, which fixed minimum ages for 14 for certain jobs after school, 16 for work during school hours, and 18 for dangerous work. The Supreme Court declared this constitutional, and it has been enforced ever since. This law is what protects us, the children of America, from being enslaved to work in horrible conditions at little to no pay. However, as of 2006, 218 million children around the world are still working. The world still has a long way to go till no child has to feel the working strain. But America's child labor reform proves that it is possible. In America, we are free to enjoy our childhood, unlike those children who fought for their freedom, which is now our saving grace. We must remember the brave souls that helped us get to where we are today, a place where we are protected by the law for unfair treatment during work.